Alright, so this is a little unexpected. I was thinking I was probably gonna be sinking like 30 plus hours into Need for Speed Most Wanted, to be honest. I didn't realize that on the third of the game's 15 levels, when I had to do the cop chase stuff, that it was just awful. Like absolutely, I do not get it at all. If you understand how to do that, watch that stream. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. I play lots of racing games, and usually don't have that much trouble with them. So that seems crazy difficult to me compared to like even the old driver games and stuff. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't want to like fight with trying to get away from the cops for 15, 20, 25 minutes at a time because that's just insane. And it's going to make the game take like a million years to finish. So, anyway, I basically crapped out on that one and I'm moving on. Um, and I don't have any. I have another game that I was going to stream, but I'm still practicing it. I don't want to rush anything now. I want to do like better on streams generally. I want to play better, be less frustrated by what I'm trying to get into. So it's not great going into this stuff and looking at it for the first time ever. This is far from my first time ever with R-Type or Final Fight, however, and this is something I wanted to show off anyway. These like Homebrew arcade games that are being developed. This one I think is just fizzled out, unfortunately, because it really was coming along well. We only got 4 levels. Like I put in the descriptions, like have you ever seen me get past the 4th level of R-Type? I don't. I think I'm getting stuck on the 3rd level of that game. Oh no, it's the 4th. Yeah, it is the 4th where I always die anyway. I've gotten to the boss on the 4th level. So it's not like I'm not close to getting past it. And I do think it's a bummer that the whole game's not here. I'm not saying it's not. But it is worth looking at if you like R-Type at least. It's got some neat stuff, including 2 soundtracks. We're going to do the original arcade soundtrack translation first, and then we'll do the remix that it defaults to. It has a different vehicle based on R-Type Leo that you can use, and that changes the gameplay significantly, so we'll check that out, I guess, too. Um, it has different screen formatting options. One of the things that I think makes this so superior to the TurboGrafx 16 version is that the whole game does fit on the screen correctly, like the arcade game, but the status bar might be off the overscan, like they point out. There's a pan and scan option, like the PC Engine TurboGrafx 16 version has. And then there's an R-Type Dimensions option where they move the HUD or something. They move the HUD from the bottom to the top instead of doing it as an overlay. I don't know. There's different choices there. This has an easy and hard difficulty, which it defaults to easy. I'm gonna get my ass kicked anyway. It has a turbo fire button by default, which is great. Um, really cool. Just a really cool look at what could have been. I think this is the remix music, actually. We'll try it both ways, though. This one is a 16 megabit ROM, so not exactly huge, but it's just 4 levels and it's 16 megabit. Consider that the PC Engine version got the entire game into 2 megabits. But yeah, this is awesome. All the animations there, there's no flicker. Pretty cool stuff. It's pretty cool. color here is not close to the arcade game, I don't feel. This may not be the same, this may not be the second stage. They're trying to represent something different here that I don't recognize because I never make it that far. Yeah, I'm not familiar with this stage because I'm not good enough in R-typing in my life to ever get here. Is this even a stage from R-Type? As somebody who never makes it past stage 4, I have to legitimately ask, is this even something that's in the game? Wow, okay, it does that. I'm not fast enough to avoid any of that shit. Gotta be in the mouth while the mouth is open. So what stages are there? There's 2 SS, which is that like starting stage? No, that's not what it stands for though. Is it special stage maybe? 6 and 8. Man, 6 and 8 are also levels I'm not gonna know, like at all. Yeah, this is a lot more weirdly incomplete than I thought it was. I thought it was just like basically the equivalent of PC Engine R-Type 1, Part 1 or whatever, which only has the first 4 or 5 stages on it. Which again is technically sufficient for me to play because I can't get past that. But at the same time, I'm so glad that the TurboGrafx version is complete. And is the best version of the game in my opinion. There's a CD-ROM version in Japan, which is complete as well, and has this like extra cutscene at the beginning and CD-ROM music, but it doesn't have the PCM music, which I actually prefer. Fuck! Dying on the first level from dumb shit. That's wild. This does seem like a hard take on the game. This is its easy difficulty. So that's kind of strange too. I mean, I've played a lot of R-Type. I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of pressure compared to the TurboGrafx game, maybe at least. The arcade game might be about the same in terms of shots and how many there are and such. That's what I'm really talking about. Because this part, for example, has a pretty tight shot pattern in it. So just playing the first level, it is funny to imagine that the Genesis could have had this and something like this. You know, obviously, like I said, they would trim back because of the megabits, but it'd still probably be enough to just really put a dent in TurboGrafx' killer app. You'd be like, well, damn. That wasn't the case, though. If you really like compare head to head on a lot of stuff with Genesis versus or Megadrive versus PC Engine, Genesis versus TurboGrafx. Even though you can say, well, the PC Engine definitely has the better shooter library. Look at all those amazing shooters on there. A lot of its amazing shooters are actually games that are custom-made console games for that system. You start comparing arcade ports between if they're on both systems, if they're on both the Genesis, Genesis Mega Drive or TurboGrafx PC Engine, and it's like it's always going to favor the Sega hardware pretty much. Like I feel like all the 12-plan ports are better, pretty much. I did Hellfire recently, and the PC Engine version got a lot more views, but I think that I prefer playing the Genesis cartridge. I just think it plays better, kind of. It's not necessarily more arcade accurate. It might actually be less arcade accurate in a lot of important ways, but and then in a lot of other ones, it's just I strongly prefer. For example, Twin Hawk is way better on Genesis, in my opinion. It's just a much better port. Aero Blaster is a little bit better on Genesis than it is on PC Engine. That one's a little bit closer. But everything always seems to favor the Sega hardware if it's on both. The only one I might give them is Darius 2. And even that's kind of debatable. Shit. I thought I was going to destroy that shot. That's why I didn't move. Just without having enough speed ups, that just seems way too hard. I do like the remixed music though. We'll try out this other vehicle. I bet this is weird. It's a little tough without having any protection from the pod. It changes colors too, that's interesting. Oh, you can shoot it to make it change colors. I see. That's really interesting. What the twist? You know, only an insane person would prefer this, right? You'd actually have to be crazy. But it's an option. I guess it makes it more challenging, though, in some ways. It's weird. This has gone badly. As badly as I've seen it go, maybe. I love watching it have to count up the number that's already at the bottom of the screen. Well, it's not like that after the first level. I remember how this works now, but it actually shows your per stage score or whatever. I have some speed up, so maybe this will be at least somewhat doable this time. Or not, I'll just die right away and then not have any speed ups. How's that for a plan? None of those gave power ups. That's such a kick in the balls. Yeah, whatever. That's too much shit on the screen. You can't move fast enough. I don't get it. I don't think that's something that's even in the original arcade game, and it doesn't seem balanced well. I don't get it. Oh, you can have it with immediate respawns. That would probably help a lot too. Anyway, let's just skip stages because there's only 3 to look at, or 4 to look at anyway. Let's just see what the other 2 look like. These are supposed to be from the real game, I think. Yeah. This is a real R-type stage. I know that because I've seen other people play it. And it kind of, it's frustrating that it's not like the levels from the beginning of the game in order, but I kind of get that. Stage 3 and 4 both have a gimmick to them that probably is going to require a lot more effort to construct. 3 might not be that big of a deal. It's just a bunch of tiles scrolling to represent a giant ship. 4, though, has all those weird little dots that can be blown away and stuff, and that's a whole game mechanic that they probably have to code. I hope I didn't screw myself here. I have no idea what I'm doing. Yep, screwed myself. I wonder what the recommended escape for that is. Well, that seemed pretty easy and fruitful. Shit. Easy if you got the right gun. Absolutely impossible nightmare if you don't. What? What I'm doing. I wonder if the high score table doesn't work, or if the high score table doesn't work if you cheat by switching levels. Is this stage 8 or is this stage 2? I don't know, I think this is stage 8. It doesn't have the big things that shoot out that look like trilobites or something. Ah, fuck. The horseshoe crab looking things that launch out. That's level 2. But it's very much a similar level design. This is just stuff I don't know about because I've never made it this far in the arcade game. Not even close. I am slightly curious about the different screen formatting, so let's look at them. This one raises the beam up a little bit, but then it has a certain amount of vertical pan and scan, just like it does on the... Oh, because the bar offset's part of the screen. So yeah, this is how it was done on the PC Engine. Who likes this? Who likes this? And why? I mean, if you can't see the bar at the bottom of the screen, that's obviously a problem. But I would probably try the other format. Let me just kill my character off here real quick. And that moves the beam to the top. So yeah, I would just see which of those two causes you overscan problems. And just play it that way, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna kill this one off too, and I'm gonna take a quick break here. When I get back, we'll mess around with this a little bit more before moving on to Final Fight MD. But this is an appetizer, and that's the main course. I mean, that's a lot of game, and this is not a lot of game. So we'll give it a little bit more look at, but it's kind of disappointing because it seems like it could be something amazing. I don't know about them putting in any original content. I would rather just mostly see like a good port of the arcade game. But the foundations were there. I mean, this could have really been great. I sound like I'm writing it off, but I mean, 4 years since an update is a pretty long time. I don't think this one's going to happen, guys. Anyway, I'll be right back, and we'll play around with it a little bit more, and then we'll check out Final Fight MD, which is well, I'll talk about it more when I get to it, but that's a game that I played so much that it almost seems like nothing to me in a way, but at the same time, there's so much there, like in this version. So we'll check it out in here in just a minute. I'll be right back. You know, when I made this channel, I was really not planning on doing, like, really any homebrew or aftermarket stuff. There's been some stuff lately that's I've been made aware of that I'm like, nah, this needs to be covered. This is too cool. So, this is among that, but like I said, quite incomplete. And then we'll look at one that's, in my opinion, beyond complete already, and it still isn't complete. So it's like, it's become this huge thing. Anyway. Here's what I'm going to try. Make up the lives to infinite. No. Let's try 5 with no setback on death. That's something we could try that. Let's see if we can make it a little far into it, just kind of for fun. Infinite would give me surprisingly little to look at. Ooh! Almost beefing it on the first level, second screen. That's something. I forgot to change the screen formatting back to Mega, which I would have preferred. Whatever. Both work, I guess. I feel like it's a little more natural to have it at the bottom, though. And I don't care, because I'm on a panel using an emulator. Ah, jeez. You know what? I am going to blow out this life, though, or this game, because I really do want that fixed. It's annoying me. I don't like it. I'll probably play R-Type Dimension soon, and I can complain about it again there. I mean, to be fair, I get it where these type of projects fizzle out without getting completed. It's a lot of work for like a person to take on when they're not getting paid to just do for fun. And at some point, your free time often dries up. Lord knows I've been there. This channel could end any day, you know, just because that's the way things go. But I think it really sucks that there's just that lack of collaboration there between people. Like, I mean, I know that there's more than one person on this project because of music and whatnot, but like, they need some. If you're not going to work on the code and make the game anymore, like, can you not? Is there not some other enthusiast who's also capable that you could kind of hand it off to for them to sort of finish up from? to kind of keep it alive. I feel like something like that should be done when you get to a project of this scale. And that also covers things like really impressive like emulator projects and stuff like that. Like, okay, so you've got to shut it down because your life's moving on and you just don't have time for this anymore for any number of reasons. But like, can you not like hand it off to any successor at all? Like, is there no way we can keep some hope in seeing something out of the project alive? That's a bummer. Ooh, right before the boss, even. Oh, and just not quite in time enough to get a pod, though. And that's the other thing about doing it with the mega respawn. No pods before bosses, or during bosses, because you died once. It's going to turn the entire boss fight into a shit show, probably, right? This is so insanely hard. I don't know how you do it without the mega respawns. Ah. Yeah, I don't know if it's any change to the lives and scoring and stuff disables the high score table, or if it's that the high score table doesn't even function at all. I'm not sure which. Let's try to do better and see if I can tell if it works with default settings. That's how that's done. There we go. You definitely want the blue weapon here. I found out how to cheese past the mid-boss and get a huge score here, too. There are indeed a lot of enemies here. I'm pretty sure that the PC Engine could not represent that. I don't know what to do to avoid that. Damn. The only trick I see is very late scrolling. You can call that a trick. That is a terrible little spot right there. That is some truly heinous shit. Not too early. You gotta really hang it back there. Not go too early. Okay, I see what I gotta do. I was not fast enough at realizing what I needed to do there. You've got to take out that enemy up top. No big deal though. I go in at the last second. I shoot you in my way in. Then I do the old duck back, hit you, move forward, then you move up instead of forward. That's what I got wrong there. Man, you really gotta memorize each little step here. It's a fun level though. And this is what R-Type's really all about. It's doing it over and over again until you figure it out. That's tough. Yeah, the high score table doesn't function because that would have been the new high score. So it just doesn't, and that's on default settings. So it's just for show. Let's see here. Yeah, there's not really much else to see in R-Type. Mega R-Type, because, yeah, those are the 4 levels that it has. I jumped to the 4th level earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and switch it over to Final Fight ND, which has a lot of stuff to see in it. And we'll check that out. Be right back in just a second. Good. I believe the music in this part is way different, although the graphics are all the same as the arcade game. There's tons of options and features here. You can do a turbo fire button if you want. Oh, wow. Interesting. And there's even more like unlockable features that I didn't know about too. I've played so much Final Fight, so that's the thing about Final Fight. It's a great game. They imitated the crap out of it over and over again. What am I doing here? Is there a way to erase this? Yeah. So we got, the same game like over and over and over again with Capcom. Some really rose above that. Some of the fantasy themed ones, like King of Dragons and Knights of the Round and the D&D games are really good, and Battle Circuit's really good. But a lot of that crap is just Final Fight over and over and over again. I don't really need to play Captain Commando or even some of the stuff that people seem to really like Punisher and Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, and it's the same stuff over and over again. It doesn't mean it's not good. It has what I call, excuse me, appetite for destruction syndrome. Which, I mean, is a good classic, hard rock album from Guns N' Roses. And it's an album I loved when I was a kid, and I listened to it a whole bunch, and it was on the radio a whole bunch, and everybody liked it. And I kind of forgot about it during the grunge years, rediscovered it in college, listened to it a bit. Then started listening to it, because I didn't have anything else in my car, I had to listen to, radio. And classic rock radio would almost play nothing but just tracks off of Appetite for Destruction, like over and over again, like almost hourly or some shit. It was weird. And it got to where it's like, when I hear the album, it doesn't really sound like anything to me. Like, I don't really notice it or care anymore. You know what I mean? And sadly, I think Final Fight as a video game has gotten into that territory where it's just like I play it, and it's not even any real conscious effort or interest in it very much, to some extent. I mean, it's still a fun video game, but it is a bit just invisible to me. I'm sure I felt this way about Ultra Beast when I was young. You know what I mean? Like, play the shit out of something and then it's just nothing almost. Oh, that's rough. This is a fully uncensored presentation of the arcade game too, which is cool. It's not the, you know, wearing shorts, Sega CD versions, nor is it the turned into little guys instead of gals version of the Super Nintendo. So you get Poison and Roxy and whatever their names are in their original sprite form. And the color loss isn't too harsh here. I mean, this is a much better use of the palette than the Mega CD version. Although maybe still not as good as the hacked Mega CD version, so I don't know. But overall, this is a much better game than Final Fight CD. It's much better. Final Fight CD is something that blew me away when I first played it, because I was like, damn, the whole game's there on Sega. That makes the Super Nintendo one seem like a piece of shit. And then like going back and playing them both, I'm like, well, no, the Super Nintendo game actually plays a lot more like the arcade game. The pacing of it and the speed that you hit enemies and the way they react is much closer. It just feels off on Sega CD. It really does. It's like it totally looks the part, but it feels off. It's weird. Same thing with the music. It feels off. It's cool. It's like CD quality music. The tone that they chose for it and stuff, though, is real weird. It's not like what you would expect. If you want to hear a CD quality version of this soundtrack, that's what you expect. What you're going to want is Final Fight Double Impact for Xbox 360. That one has a remade soundtrack that's like just a super high fidelity version of the arcade music. With what at least sounds like real instruments. The Sega CD one is this like weird, almost jazzy take on it. It's really cool though. I like it. It's different. I'm gonna pay worse than I normally do. The number of enemies on screen and stuff here too is crazy and really comparable to the arcade game. It might be the same as the arcade game, which allows like, let's say like 11 characters on the screen. But there's a lot of sprite tearing and stuff that goes along with that. Three food items here? Holy shit, 4 food items here? That's not something that would happen in the arcade game. There's definitely some logic differences, I think. And of course in the Mega mode, the logic differences are more pronounced. And we'll check out that as well. We're going to put some time in on this. I don't mind playing some Final Fight today. It's pretty fun, actually. R-Type's more my speed, but that's just not complete and R-Type enough for my taste. It needs some refinement that it's not gonna, I think, get, which is unfortunate. This doesn't. This is beyond being a final product. I don't even know what they've got in store for it next. Maybe more characters. They added Maki, and we'll play as Maki after this. This will be cool. She's the ninja lady from Final Fight 2. Maybe they're just going to expand it to include Final Fight 2 and 3 eventually, who knows. Or maybe they'll give you like really cool stuff like Final Fight 3 version of Hagar. You can play Final Fight 2 and 3 versions of Guy, who knows. Final Fight 1 on Game Boy Advance, which is also a pretty cool take on this game, has Final Fight Alpha versions of Cody and Guy that you can play as, which is pretty cool. Completely mishmash art style when you do that, but still pretty cool. I gotta say, the logic in this fight and stuff seems just like the arcade. The enemy AI is done really well. It feels the same to me. The timing, the hit and hurt box areas for all the characters seem right. They nailed way more than they missed here. What they missed is maybe minuscule. And it might have to do with like itemization and some randomization stuff that's not quite the same. You gotta keep in mind when you do a port like this, unless it's been decompiled, you may not have access to the same tables and stuff that you know, to know exactly what your chances of getting what items are and things like that. That's probably why the Ghouls and Ghosts project is like this, which there's one of those being done too. Just basically, what if Ghouls and Ghosts had enough megabits to have all the tiles from the arcade game? I think they're just building it on top of Ghouls and Ghosts code though, which is smart. Because Sega seemed to have gotten it right and probably had all the information that they need to make it accurate. What am I missing here? This is a new one to me, getting stuck on this. There we go, finally. It's too little too late though. Not enough to get it on my car, that's so sad. Oh! There we go. Oh, I did it! I did it! I can't believe I pulled that off. That was so close. That's too much risk. Don't do what I did. That's dumb. The way the art's redone in the background here almost looks better than the arcade game. That's pretty funny. And this, in case you're wondering, is it's only a 32 megabit cartridge. It's not like crazy. It's not unrealistic. For that red box art style over there, 32 megabit cartridge could have been done if they really wanted to throw down and give us a super fancy version of Final Fight like 4 years later after it was in the arcades or whatever, 5 years later. Late Genesis era, right before people switched over to PlayStations and whatnot. They could have done it and left Nintendo with nothing in the beat 'em up department. Just nothing. I think there might be a project like this being done with Mortal Kombat as well. I could be wrong about that, but I think that there's a truly proper Mortal Kombat being made. It's better, going to be better than the Sega CD version as well. And again, there's Real Bout, which I might have to look into a little bit also. I want to say that their solution on that one was just to like include everything and make it like a 100 megabit cartridge as if it were a Neo Geo game. Hell, that's a gigabit game in the arcade. It's probably more than 330 megabits. Damn. I wonder how big the, yeah, I'll have to look and see how big the Megadrive port is. Curious. Because it looks like it has like all the animation, which is crazy. I think the only thing they cut was the ducking back to the other line thing, which I guess saves them a little bit of animations. Piece of shit. So this stage is the one that's entirely cut from the Super Nintendo. Here in all of its glory. Also, here's what I have to say about the music on this. This is pretty odd too, I think. Um, the Super Nintendo game, like, sounds like the arcade game to me. Even though it's using the crappiest, cheapest Super Nintendo instruments and everything's a horn, and I get that, it somehow still manages to sound very similar to the arcade. So I don't think it's too bad of a use considering very limited memory, but the fidelity is just very poor because the instrument quality is very poor. But I kind of think it works better than this does. This is much higher fidelity, but sounds like nothing like the arcade game, which is weird because they're both like these Yamaha synth chips. You'd expect it to be this really close translation, but to me it doesn't sound very much like it. It sounds like a weird remix. Not like a bad remix or anything, but it's just like, it's far enough off to where I feel like there should be, like we've got in Mega R-Type where we just saw, where you can select between the original arcade music and this, you know. I feel like we're only getting the remixed version and not something that's supposed to be the arcade game's music. This level's not that bad either. It's actually probably closer to the arcade than some of the other ones I was thinking of here. I don't know though. Yeah, I don't know. I would love to hear some like head-to-head comparisons of these tracks. How many credits did they give you on this one? This is the 4th of 6 stages. This is downtown. What is it? Downtown, Metro. Actually, the third one's probably considered downtown because that's where the restaurants and shit are. The first, so it's like Metro City streets, then the subway, then downtown, then this factory stage, which is the 4th stage that's missing on Super Nintendo. Then it's uptown and like Belger's Mansion, I guess. Or actually, is Belger's Mansion the one that they call Uptown, and the one that I'm calling Uptown actually called like the Bay or something like that. I mean, look, they managed to pull this off too, and this is one of the more complex areas, and it's done so well. I mean, it's not like it's bad the way they represented it on the Final Fight CD version. I just think it's impressive that the Homebrew gets all this stuff so accurate. At the same time, this is one of the most unnecessary fucking things that exists that I can think of. This is actually more for people using Everdrives and real hardware than anything else, because that completes the illusion. Plus, I'm sure it's just a cool way to play Final Fight on TV. But like, if you're not playing on a CRT TV and you're on a panel and you've got any kind of device at all, there are both like licensed and unlicensed ways to play Final Fight very easily and very perfectly from the CPS-1 original. And it's on Capcom Arcade Stadium. CPS-1 emulation is a highly perfected emulation type that's very low latency on almost any device. Talking one frame latency or less. So it's definitely something you can easily play well on whatever you're watching YouTube on right now, I'm sure. And a lot of the interest here does derive from the weird extra features that they're putting in, which we will check out. Going against Rolento, which is a major thing missing from Super Nintendo. God, his health level might actually be worse than the arcade, which is awful. It really takes a beating. Yeah, bay and then up, down. So, oh, and the bonus stage. Like, I recognize this from the arcade game, but it doesn't sound as much like the arcade game as the old Super Nintendo one does, and that I find strange to say, considering the types of hardware being ported and such. Seems odd that that would ever be the case. I really think that they should at least consider including an alternate soundtrack. That's, I mean, I know that they probably do for that, like MSU format or whatever it's called, where they like have digital audio. And you can probably use the Sega CD or arcade soundtrack or something that way. But I really think that they should have one that's like a Yamaha, like stripped from the arcade game, you know, with less channels, like more how like a normal person would think that this music would be translated over, and have it as an alternate soundtrack, even if it's lower fidelity than this one in a way, just so it sounds more like the arcade game. Definitely get some slowdown with this number of enemies around. There is that true 60 hertz mode, and I wonder what that does. I'm guessing flicker. I'm guessing it has a lot of flicker. But either that or it may actually reduce the number of enemies that get on the screen. Ooh. I think that they probably just give you unlimited credits in this game too, that's what I suspect. Because they reset your score, which is pretty unique to this game, I want to say. They don't do I think in all the other versions they just increment your score by 1 point. And then they continue it, but in this one they reset it, and I think that That's because you can either play for score on 1 credit, or you can not and just continue to your heart's content. I wonder if they allow like a scoring table for 2 and 3 player mode. That's right, there's a 3-player mode. If you have a multi-tap. And if you have an emulator, you have a multi-tap. If you have an emulator, you have every single one of the hardware accessories you need, probably, for everything. That's what I love about emulation. That's more kind of stun magic right there. Stun locking. The background details here seem a lot better than they do on Super Nintendo, even though they're missing a lot of... Well, the color tone is wrong, I should say. That's what really seems off about it. But, again, you know, it's a much smaller palette to work with, and I don't think they did a bad job at all. How many knives do I have to stick into your face? Oh, hell yeah. This is mostly a game about herding. You gotta herd them up, smack them around. And there's Argo. What a dickhead. Yeah, just use guide the whole game. It's alright. We've all seen all the characters, except for the one we haven't. We'll get to that, though. She's not selectable in arcade mode anyway, which makes sense. I don't know if you can play 3-player in arcade mode either. I think that a lot of those shenanigans are reserved for the mega mode. And then there's also a survival mode, and then there's also some sort of boss rush mode you can unlock. I mean, damn, this game is just rich with content. Which I would like to see more of. If we're gonna do like, ports of these types of common games we've all played a lot, especially, put in some neat stuff. Definitely include the original though. I think that this did. I mean, this is a very good representation of what the arcade games really like compared to anything that existed at the time. And just in general, for the hardware too. And I'm sure there's side-by-side videos you can see that compare this to Final Fight CD and Final Fight for Super Nintendo. But you'll see that it really does shame it in so many ways. There's so many extra details and things that are... And also, side-by-side comparisons with the arcade game. What's different? What's the same? I mean, a lot of it's the same, but with less color, slightly smaller characters. Slow down. The actual arcade game has very little, right? I don't want to say none, but I want to say very little. CPS is pretty beastly hardware, though, compared to this. Yet no more difficult to emulate on modern systems. I want to emphasize that. They both emulate perfectly, so unless you're interested in the extra features, you're going to go with just the arcade ROM probably most of the time. like that whoever designed this cover art, I'm just now noticing this, decided that this game is rated GA. This game about beating people to death with lead pipes, this is rated GA. Sure. I mean, I do think it would get a team. I don't know. It depends on how picky they want to be. They might not even give it a team. You're hitting humanoid characters with weapons and blood's coming out of them until they stop moving. That's usually a bad sign. That's usually a bad sign of what's going on in the game. Have you ever seen the original cover art? It's not this art that's on this game's box, but I'm talking about the original arcade poster art, I guess, which is you know, one of these nuke radiation punks right here with the radiation symbol in the back. Like, I think it's one of those guys that's knocked out on the ground with Cody standing over him and ready to fight a bunch of other guys, but like there's also like a pipe and like a blood splatter by the guy's head. Like, he obviously just fucking beat the dude with the pipe. So it's pretty hardcore. And it's usually cropped down to where you can't see the guy on the ground and the blood splatter. Like, they reused that art and things for Nintendo and stuff too, but they cropped out that shit. The part that makes it hard as fuck, they took out. And yeah, this part's very crowded in the arcade game, and they're really representing that here. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild that it's this close. If there's this many guys. After I get back inside after this part, we'll go up an elevator, I think, and then there's like rooftop pools, and then after that, that's where you fight Belger, is that right? Or is this where you go inside and then there's just a hallway and you fight Belger? I don't remember. It could be that they changed the art style and you don't look like you're on a rooftop here, and you did in the original. And these pools kind of feel different. Yeah, I see what happened here. So yeah, in the original arcade game, you go up there. There's no grass or anything around the trees. They're like set on a gray background. And maybe the developer thought that looked boring or something. I don't know, but it makes sense to me, and has always made sense to me, because guess what happened before you saw the pools? You went up an elevator. Those pools are set into the rooftop of this fancy pants mansion. That's what's neat about them. They're rooftop pools. So putting grass and stuff all around them, it doesn't make sense in any way. And it kind of almost makes it seem like they don't understand what they were looking at in the original game. It's weird. I don't know how I feel about the 2 or 3 changes in the backgrounds that I've seen. There needs to be more red-purple, I think, in the palette of the Bay Area, but I don't know if that's possible. That one's a pretty good level, though. First level's really good, too. It's done well. Second level's really good. Third level's really good. Most of them are really good. There's a few on the third level downtown. The bar, they redid the graphics in the background. You could easily argue that it looks better the characters back there were smaller in the arcade game, and every other version of the game. And I think it's because it's supposed to be more perspective than what you can actually walk back to. But it doesn't feel like that. It feels like they're just right there, so they're kind of too small. It seems weird in a way. So this kind of fixes that. But I mean, should it be fixing anything, or should it just be presenting the arcade game? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. The pools change is ridiculous and bad, though. You're not getting it. You're actually downplaying how wealthy and fancy Belger's place is here. Because those are rooftop pools set into concrete. And rooftop shit. I don't know. Why would you take an elevator up and then be at ground level unless you started underground? But you know you didn't because you were walking on the street. So is it some weird terrace thing? Nah, it doesn't make sense. I mean, I guess you could have a lawn on the roof too if you're rich, and that's kind of what's going on here now. But I don't know. It's just not the original art. Savior. I should not have eaten that pineapple. That's what I keep saying every time. I grab it as soon as it appears as some sort of bonus item, but it's actually food. I don't know if it's food from the arcade game. If it is, it's hella rare. That's the other thing I think is a little off, is the itemization. This music seems very accurate. Like, I'm not even really questioning it. And this is the music that's also used on the second level, right? So, I think that a few of these tracks are right on the money, and some of them are just not. Yeah, this is the same one used in the subway, and I thought it was cool there. Yeah, I feel like this is what I was talking about, just the arcade music with less channels. I feel like that's what they did here, and it sounds great. But then some of the other tracks do not sound like that at all to me. I don't know. And this will be my only full playthrough of the game. Everything else will be more skill-based instead of a free-play playthrough. I just wanted to checking it all out, making sure it's all here and how I remember. And like I said, I play this game so much, and I know it so much, and I still play it for every once in a while for whatever reasons, even though it's like something I'm almost indifferent to. Capcom Arcade Stadium kind of got my interest back up by doing, you can do like a score attack on it, which is cool. I'm not good at all. But, having played it and continuing to play it so much, I can be pretty accurate in my assessment of what's the same and what's different. And my biggest complaints being just some differences in the music that I don't feel sounds so much like the original. Some tracks are way better than others. And then the other being some inconsistencies in the background that are not accurate to the arcade game. There's really only a couple. It's weird though. The bar looks way different. Oh, there is a limit on credits. I didn't quite beat that. That's funny. I'm not going to try it again or anything. We can safely say the whole game's there. I was about to fight Belger in the next room. And you know what that fight looks like. We've all seen all this before. Nothing new here, but there's lots new here. There's a whole lot new here, actually. I lied. There's a lot new. And we're going to see it here in just a second. We'll check out all the weird stuff that this game has and does, and have some fun with it. But there's the survival mode. It only has the bridge stage from the arcade game. It doesn't, or from this Final Fight CD. It does not have the other like street stage that I seem to remember. With like maybe it was like a drive-in, or there were like cars in the background or something. I don't remember. But I think that there was one in the background that's not here yet. I say yet because I can see I'm putting it in. But it does have an alternate survival mode, which is the cage fight with the Ondors, but it's just the Ondors keep coming. It's just an all Ondor battle, and that's pretty fun too. So we'll look at all that stuff. I'll be back in a minute, and thanks for watching. Alright, Final Fight MD. Like I said, if you're playing Final Fight MD in such a day and age when the CPS Final Fight is so accessible to all of you, you're probably playing it to see what kind of crazy extra features it has. And there are plenty, actually. And more to come on all that. Achievements. Survivor Plus, Time Attack Plus. The main game has a mega mode, and in it you can select. I don't really care about the save features. You select your 3 traditional characters, of course, and this is also 3-player, as you can see. You can also select Maki, who is from Final Fight 2. Being a Super Nintendo game, I don't know that she's quite as well animated as the other characters, but pretty close, and the art style is pretty close. Final Fight 2's art style is pretty close to 1. It's 3 where it really starts to change a bit and looks a bit different to me, I think. Oh boy, you guys are really wearing on my nerves here. You can't permanently stun lock him like you can in other versions of the game, including the arcade game, I believe. I mean, there's no way to say how Maki would handle him, I guess, but the arcade game. But, like, other characters can do that anyway. Guy can totally do that. Hagar, maybe not. Maybe Hagar can, maybe I just don't understand his timing. I don't know. Like, I recognize this from the arcade game, but the mix of it's so weird that it doesn't sound like it. Yeah, whereas this one I think is done well. I don't know. Is she just not capable of wielding a lead pipe, I guess? Seems like she can't pick it up at all. That's pretty interesting. I wouldn't have expected that to be the case at all. Knocking's not doing well. I made it much further with God. Didn't I make it to the end of downtown before I had to continue? I think I continued on Eddie E. So that's way further. I'm doing shitty. swing the sword too fast for him to escape? Not necessarily. She's way better at it than everybody else. Way better at it. Maybe that's why she's not allowed to use pipes. It just wouldn't be fair. And the background there and stuff looks exactly like it's out of the arcade game. This is really, really impressive. In most spots, you just look at it and you're like, damn. So I don't think I can pick that pipe up. I'm going to try, but nope, I can't. I need to get to work then. Yeah.
Oh my god!
It's oh my god, not oh my car. Totally uncensored. Yeah, this game. So, just to kind of give context of why the box art is silly that I was talking about earlier, and this being rated GA, which you might not even think of it was a big deal now because pixel art, anything seems like nobody cares. But at the time, back in the day, when this came out on like Super Nintendo and Sega CD and stuff, there wasn't a rating system. But in the late era, when this style of box art is representing, like, imagine this is one of the last games released, you know, in like 95 of the Genesis era or something. Okay. Prior to ratings, basically every game was expected to be rated teen. Like, you could have some violence, you could beat somebody with a pipe, that's fine. Don't show a blood splatter, though. I mean, come on, that's going a little far. Blood splatter's a little controversial, maybe just a smidge. If you had it, it probably wouldn't be the end of the world, but I don't know. A lot of games, they wouldn't want a license if you did something like that. Hitting women, same thing, not gonna happen. They just couldn't have women fighters in things until Street Fighter 2 made Chun-Li normal or something. I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know why people had this rapid change of opinion about this, but at the time when this game came out, it was pretty controversial for those things, and you know, it was basically beating a hooker to death with a lead pipe in an alley. Is that like something we want our kids to see type of stuff? So for this to be like more uncensored than what we actually got in the home versions, and then also for them to have a rating on it in GA, it's pretty funny. It's not, doesn't make sense. An uncensored one surely would have been, oh my god, you know, rated M. Concept of a rated M game didn't kind of exist really until ratings existed. The rating system made games have more questionable material in them, not less, and that's pretty interesting. Because that's the way things were going anyway, with games getting more realistic. You know, just, they sort of saw it as an inevitability that it would get to be, you know, at the same level of like movies or whatever. This game wasn't as big of a censorship catalyst as something like Doom or Mortal Kombat might have been, but it was part of the discussion, and a very early part of the discussion. Oh, and this part of the stage, by the way, is just so well represented that this version of the game that I just have no notes at all. Like, nothing to say about it except for it looks just like the arcade game with slightly less color. Oh, and hey look, I ended up making it at least as far as I did with Guy, even though I said I was doing worse when I was back on the second stage. Oh gosh, man, you're really being kind of a dick here. Yeah, I did way better on that fight. Makes me curious to see how far I can get with Maki. This will probably shut me out at some point. Yeah, this is a tough level. Again, this looks just like the arcade game to me too. I can't even say less color. It just looks like the arcade game right here. It's so well done. This strategy does work in the arcade, by the way, and it's something I generally use. I don't know that it's this effective in the arcade, but it does work. It's something you can do if you're cheesy. If you like it cheesy like Chester Cheetah, this is how it's done. She's the most capable of getting across it because of her flips. Not sure if you can turn on AI helpers for this game. That might be an option too. Surprisingly, that's an option for two-player, pseudo two-player in Final Fight 3. It does create a lot more slowdown though in a game that already kind of suffers from quite a bit of it. Please let me over there. Just let me eat that turkey. Thank you. I'm so afraid that's just gonna go to waste because I'm in corner comboed. That's some bullshit. Gee, can't imagine why I'd worry about that happening here. Shit. I don't mean to say I'm like the greatest gamer of all time or anything, but goddamn, you see that? It was amazing. I don't go out of my way to offend every single person who watches these streams, do I? That's why I don't even bother with Call of Duty. I mean, I still play it, I just don't stream it. I don't know how I feel about recent changes in the game. I was ready to be completely pissed off about the ball jumps and grappling hooks, but instead I'm just using them, so whatever. My puppy looks so much better than it does on Super Nintendo. High fidelity puppy. Already immediately much better. Makes the game 1,000 times better. Shit. You, sir, are not the greatest gamer of all time. In the original arcade mode, even with all the credits they gave you, you could not beat the game. So yeah, I do wonder if this is easier beyond the fact that maybe Mafia's just a really good character. I don't know. There's a lot of ways you can change the Mega Mode. I noticed that in the menu. There's crazy options that remind me of Streets of Rage Remix, where it's like you're changing the game's mechanics and things. Juggling and stuff like that. And that's really a lot of stuff to play with if you want to have some fun messing around with your final fight. Shit. I wonder if they'll put Carlos in. He's Hagar's roommate. Mayor Hagar has a roommate. Trying to keep the cost of mint down for the mayor. Or wait, is he a house guest? I can't remember how to describe him. I don't know. Between that and the Super Nintendo Final Fight cover, you can draw your own conclusions about Hagar, which is funny. And that cover also is basically just, they ripped off the art of H2O, which is a Hall & Oates album. So yeah, that's like a Hall & Oates cover that people laugh about sometimes because of the intensity between the two men, and they turned it into the Final Fight Super Nintendo cover. It's amazing. I love it. I guess they decided they needed original art instead of trying to censor the arcade art by cropping it, which is actually what Final Fight CD did. They went with the poster that I'm talking about. If you could see lower, you'd see that Cody is standing over a guy that is laying on the ground with blood coming out of his head with a pipe laying next to him. Bloop, 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 bloop. And I just die immediately. I got the extra life and died as part of the same action. Those extra lives every 200,000 though are keeping me in the game, and I never in a million years would have guessed that I would break 1,000,000 points in this run. I'm pretty shocked. There's some iframes in a throw, which is why you want to try and do them when the guy's sliding like I just did. Way too much Final Fight. I can even play different versions of Final Fight blended together now. What the hell? What a time to be alive. Oh, fuck you. Wait, what the hell happened? It's like I ate that katana. It feels like I ate a katana. That might have been a glitch. Has anyone ever seen the ZX Spectrum port of this game? It's hilarious. I mean, I don't mean to shit on that hardware, because I know it's probably got tons of great games on it. It was really popular in Europe or whatever, and especially in the UK. But, like, they tried, and the way they did Final Fight on it is insane. So, the Spectrum has all sorts of color limitations, making it ironically named, I guess. Like, pretty extreme ones, and to get around having a bunch of color clash on the screen where things are flashing different colors and or miscolored, just to have a minimal amount of color anyway. They just decided to make, I think Final Fight's just a monochrome game. It's like black and white or black and blue or something like that. There we go. I finally lost all my lives on Abigail. But, anyway, what they went with was crazy, because they made, like, they basically fully reproduced the game in monochrome with full-size characters and everything. And you might be thinking, well, that's fucking cool, right? Like that's awesome. Like it really looks like the arcade game despite not being in color. Like the characters are huge, in fact, maybe bigger than this version. And there's not a lot of them on the screen. There were a few, I think, and it was just like, wow, this looks crazy for a 8-bit game. But then if you see it in motion, I mean, I'm using the word motion here like really, really generously too. You'd be like, well, that's unplayable shit. Like, there's ways to play it like on emulators by massively overclocking it, and then you can kind of respect what they accomplished. But like, otherwise, it's just, I mean, I just think it's a really particularly funny port of a game, and one that's worth pointing out. Um, the Amiga and Atari ST ports of this game, I think, were really shitty too. There might be like aftermarket homebrew type fixes for the things I'm describing. This is a beloved game. I can see it being recreated on a lot of different hardware. But I'm gonna take a real quick breather here. I'm gonna jump back one for a final bit, and we'll do some of the survival modes, see what that's like, and then we'll wrap it up with my final thoughts about Final Fight MD. I'll be right back. All right, let's do a little bit more Final Fight MD, and then I'm gonna wrap this up. What an impressive package, though, huh? Quite a game, quite a bit of game. Crazy stuff. Escapes without being harmed. Jeez. Rolling down his thumbs without losing a life is an ask as well. Even though I got very close. I got very close in that last round, didn't I? Or maybe I even did it and it didn't count because it's Mega Mode. I don't know. Let's check out some of the other stuff though. There's Survivor Plus, Time Attack Plus. Boss Rush is now unlocked. Okay, okay. There's 2 survival modes. I'm not really sure what Time Attack's like, but we'll probably try it out. Maybe as last thing. I may not finish it because. Oops, wrong option. That's interesting. But that option even applies there. Huh? But this is the Sega CD background for one of the two Sega CD final. The other one was like Chinatown or like a drive-in, and I can't remember what, but it was pretty colorful. It wasn't. It was a lot more flat and less interesting looking than this. But it would be cool if both backgrounds were included. I mean, how much more is it to include just one more background, you know? Maybe they don't feel there's a point to it though, because it's like it would almost necessitate being there for another survival mode or something. Which I don't know. I guess they could do it though by having a different mix of enemies on that stage option or something. You know what I mean? Which I think maybe is how they did it on the Final Fight CD. I'm really gonna have to go back and look at this because I feel like I might be talking out of my ass, but this is definitely how I remember it. You know what I mean? With there being these two options. So yeah, real mixed feelings on Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005, which I streamed the other day. I was wondering if my love of that game was just nostalgia, or if it was actually great, and it's kind of both. It's such a mess. Like, I deeply enjoyed the racing and the general handling and upgrades of the car and doing all the different races. Like, that's all super fun, but the cop stuff sucks and is so poorly done, it feels like me, or I'm just not understanding it or something. It's just frustrating. I hated it. And I normally don't have problems with that in games. I'm quite the GTA player, actually. I have plenty of experience in that kind of shit, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong there. I'd love to know. I'd love to be able to enjoy that more. If I ever try to approach that game again, and I might, I'll do it backwards. I'll do all the cop stuff first and then the racing stuff on each level. That way, if you lose and you keep losing to the cops, like at least you can grind the money back by doing all the races afterwards. I mean, you can still go back and do that, but like, might as well just do it backwards. You know, do all the cop stuff as much as I can and see how much money I can avoid losing, and then do it, and then take on the races. But damn, I don't want to do like 15 to 20 minute evasions of cops. That's just obnoxious, you know. So I don't know. I feel like I've got to be doing something wrong, and it can't really be that hard. It's not. It's not the same feeling I had when I went back and played San Francisco Rush 2049 and didn't like it. I played it and was like, "Ick." Like, well, I'm gonna force myself to try and get into it, and then I couldn't, you know. But it was more like, "Oh, this is super fun," and then until it, you know, really, really, really wasn't because of the cops. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Boss Rush has the same options for backgrounds, I guess. Let me show you the Ondor's Cage Survivor first. It really is just fighting Ondors. I'm so bad at this. I'm just getting my ass handed to me here. I will say the jump physics with Haggard do not feel like the arcade games, I don't think. Wasn't it more vertical than this? Am I wrong? I'm probably not wrong. I played the game so damn much. I'm probably right here. I don't know. I killed 9 Ondors. Alright. One last thing to look at, and that's the boss rush. I'm not probably going to bother with the time attack. I might, just for a second, just to see if it's anything crazy different. But I'm assuming it's just the arcade game on a time attack. Or just a timed version of playing the regular or mega versions of the game. I don't know. You just fight all the bosses at once. Jeez. This is psychotic. Yeah, I love this. This is 10 times crazier than what I was imagining right here. What the fuck? Yeah, I love this. This is cool. This is how, like, this is how arcade developers, and I'm mostly thinking of Namco here. No, I'm only thinking of Namco here. This is how Namco handled their games in the mid 90s and late 90s when they would bring them home to the PlayStation. Just like, yeah, you want the arcade game? We'll give you something that's damn near identical to the arcade game. Like, you need to see them side by side to tell the difference. Oh, and you want extra features? Hell yeah, we'll put every one we can think of, and then we'll make up a few more that are even weirder than that. I love it. This also makes me wish that there was a CPS hacking scene. Right now, the Genesis Megadrive Sega 16-bit console is like has the best tools on it probably for an aspiring developer. I mean, you can make stuff for Super Nintendo and PC Engine and stuff like that, but the tools get a lot rougher, depending on which stuff you're talking about. Outside of Genesis, maybe the next best place to do homebrew would maybe be the Dreamcast or something. And there's a lot of development going on in the world of like Sega Saturn and some other stuff right now, but the CPS is such capable hardware, it'd be really cool to see some stuff like that. Actually, there are things like that happening with Neo Geo, with System 16 games being ported to Neo Geo. I'm not sure the name of the dude that's doing that, but he brought over Shinobi and Golden Axe, and they're basically perfect. And you might think, well, what do you care? If you've got something that can emulate a Neo Geo, you've got something that can emulate a System 16, right? Not necessarily, especially when you get into like handheld devices and things like that and stuff that's a little bit on the lower powered end of emulation. Neo Geo is far better supported than System 16, so those are pretty useful little ports actually. But it would be cool to see like them enhanced too, like if they were putting in extra modes and features and boss attacks and time, special multiplayer modes that weren't there before and things like that. Because all that shit's cool and fun. Getting the whole game and then stuff on top of the whole game is always a great experience. Getting something that's a remixed or changed version of the original game isn't necessarily a great experience because there's going to be sometimes when you fire up Final Fight MD and you just want to play some plain old Final Fight also. And it definitely has that. What's this? This wasn't what I was expecting at all. Fight. Time attack. Oh. Oh, I think I get it. It's like survival, except for you've got a time limit, and if you don't kill a certain number of enemies within a certain amount of time, you're screwed. Or maybe that time doesn't renew at all. Maybe this is all the time you get. It's just a question of how fast you can kill Ondors. Is that really what I'm looking at? This is a weird ass mode, not what I expected. Not at all what I expected. Bold of them to assume I can even last 99 seconds on 3 lives against all these Ondors. Yeah, just to see how many you can beat in the full amount of time. I beat 15 with Maki, the cheapest character. Anyway, this is pretty cool. If you're a big fan of Final Fight and you want a bunch of different weird ways to play it, or if you own real Sega Genesis hardware and an EverDrive and you want to experience a really great version of Final Fight on your TV, Final Fight MD. So it's a quite cool thing and really impressive. It's a little bit of a shame that R-Type, Mega R-Type, never quite made it to this point. It could have been something like this. It could have been a truly definitive version of R-Type. But I understand how big these projects are, and it's amazing when somebody's able to get something to this point. So I'm glad you're able to check it out this weekend, and I hope everybody has a great weekend. Thanks for watching.